Hello, welcome to another video. This one is going to be all about self-tapes. What is a self-tape? How to do one? What do you need? Etc.
Hey guys, Editor John here. How you doing? So there's a little issue in the video. I'm sorry I'm having to jump straight in like this. The audio is a little bit whack. The mic is picking up my heartbeat constantly. It kind of sounds like a swashing kind of noise. It cuts in and out. It's worse in the first part of the video, but then kind of sorts itself out after and the noise suppression kicks in. So apologies for that, please bear with it. Lessons learnt, and future I'll probably place the mic somewhere else around the side of my collar or something to try and mitigate that in the future. Alright, back to it.
I'm joined again by Balado with questions. Say hello.
Hello.
Alright, and this is take 2. I'm going to try and get on with this because I think we're losing the light, so fire away.
What is a self-tape?
So a self-tape is basically just a video version of a selfie. You might be doing an audition, or you might want to prepare something that you've created to send out to casting directors. So you just set up your camera, landscape mode, just kind of like not too much dead space above the head or on the chest, so that they can see your face clearly. And you'd send that out for the casting directors and for your auditions. That's the basic of it.
Is there anything specific you should do at the start?
So, not always, but sometimes you might be requested to do a slate. And a slate would be essentially something like this. You'd be looking at camera and like, hello, my name's John Knightbridge. I'm a Staffordshire-based actor. I'm represented by Amanda Andrews' agency, and I am auditioning for the role of the father today. That'd be it. Pretty much as simple as that. But here's the thing. You could also get requested to do a full body, and you would want to do that in portrait mode, because like, if you do landscape, if you take, hold that for me a second. If you were to try and do a full body in landscape, and you're in your own, you're at home, this is about almost all in.
You're centre there.
I'm centre, yeah. So from here, I mean, I've got a mic on, but the camera's mic would struggle to pick that up, and you can't see much detail. Plus you're going to see like your entire living room or bedroom or whatever, so that's no good. So what you can do is, you just hold that still for me, Toby. How do I do this one again? Like so. Right, if you just hold that slightly higher for me. Yeah. So you could set your tripod up so you're a little bit like slightly higher on your head, so you have a tilt down. And then I would use the wider, like a 0.6, the wider lens.
Your feet are just cut off there.
And my feet are just cut off, and I mean, I could be a lot closer here, but this recording lens is like on a ×1. A ×6, I can actually be closer, and you'd still see more of me.
×6?
0.6, yeah, 0.6, thank you. And you'd actually still be able to see more of me, and if you've got it higher and angled down slightly, you'd see everything. And then your full body slate would simply be kind of like front shot, like that, and then your profile or portrait kind of shot like this to get an idea of your body type, really. Body types can be important for a few different things. Let's swing that back around. There we go. So yeah, that can be useful knowledge there.
What setup do you need equipment-wise?
To be honest, you don't need anything too fancy. I mean, you can go as fancy as you like, really. But you don't need to be too fancy at all. You can get yourself, in fact, I'll put up an example of a self-tape I did just recently, so you get an idea. I've got my backdrop as an old piece of material, quite a big piece of material. It's just like a pale blue, and I've got it hooked to the railings with some clips, and I just let it like drop down to the floor, and that's my backdrop. And then I've got a little Amazon spotlight, which can plug into a USB plug or something. Has about 5 different like brightness modes on it. Nothing too fancy. And then I've got myself a cheap tripod. I actually picked up a new 6-foot one recently from a charity shop, which was just a £5. Works perfectly fine. So yeah, you can go as fancy as you like, but you really don't need that much. And your camera, your phone's camera, make sure you obviously put it into portrait mode. And most mics on the phones these days are good enough for a self-tape. You know what you're going to be sending out. You don't necessarily need a fancy mic or anything like that, but if that's what you want to do, or maybe you're more into voice acting, well then you want to be doing a self-tape per se. But yeah, it's entirely up to you.
What is a brief when you get a self-tape class?
So the brief is just basically the breakdown of a scene. So, you know, you'll have, let me think of a scenario. Father is anxiously looking for his lost child. He stops and talks to a stranger asking for help, right? That could be like a breakdown of the scenario. But also in the brief, they might say things like, please make sure that you rename your file to the role and your name, which is an important point, by the way, because most times when you get a recorded file, it's random numbers. If you're sending out a tape, casting directors don't want to be looking for ages through loads of numbers to try and find it. So always try and rename your file. I'll tell more how to do that later as another video or talking point. What was more to that question? What was it again?
What is a brief?
The brief, yeah. So yeah, just things like that, and then give you information of how and where to send it to them with their email and who to address it to, possibly, and stuff like that. But the brief can contain key information in the breakdown of the scenario, like certain actions, things that your character might be required to do, etc. So keep an eye out for that.
How do you prepare for a piece?
So mostly for me, I like to get my lines in. So I'll just read the piece a good dozen times or more, over and over, just get it in my head. And I won't just read the lines, I'll read, like, you know, everything. You need to understand what's going on. So, you know, I'll read everything going on there, again, many times over, and then I'll start speaking them out loud, and start getting like an idea of how I want to feel the scene. Hold on, we went across this way before the other week, didn't we? We didn't carry on down there. Can we go down there? Yeah, we can go down there, because I think we went down that other path before. Yeah.
Hang on.
Oh shit! Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh. I'm down. Actually nearly twisted my ankle there. I bet that looks so funny. Yeah, maybe Toby come down the bit in the middle there. Yeah, come on. Maybe me, I just came down the steepest bit. That really doesn't look that bad on the video. All you need to do is Suck in a bit, you'll be alright. Yeah, you got it. See, I had all that momentum with me. That carried me all the way down here.
Lion. Yeah, he just went absolutely flying.
Oh dear. Oh, where are we tracking to? Hello?
Starts seeing you fall over like a tumbleweed.
Okay, now I should be back with it. Actually, half went over my ankle there. But I'm good, I'm good. So what was I just talking about? What was the question?
How do you
Prepare.
prepare for a piece?
Yeah, so I said all those bits about just kind of getting my lines in to start with, learning them, and you know, get them in, and then I'll start saying them out loud. But I also like to get the scene in my head and then sit on it for a while. Like, let it kind of marinate, if you like. We're going to go... Yes. Yeah, just kind of like let it marinate for a while. Sit there, let it develop. I found when I do that, and I'm saying the lines back and performing, it feels like it's coming from a much more natural place for some weird reason, rather than just like getting the lines in quicker then going straight to a performance. I end up often finding I'm doing what I call like my actor voice. You know, if you saw some of the early runs I do, I sound terrible.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like I'm acting. That's why I like to sit on it and just let it stew a little bit and then say it, because it comes out, I feel, more natural. And also like try and identify your character's motivations and truths in the scene. You know, what's driving you, what's your motive, what's your reason, what's for why. And once you get those things in, even if it's not necessarily what the casting director is looking for, or the director or whatever, two things. One, your performance still comes across as natural and real. And two, you can then walk away after you've done that piece feeling good that you've done a good job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's one of the main things there. That's like the second time we've seen that chat now, I think. Yeah, next.
Are there any easy ways to learn lines?
I wouldn't say easy per se, but there's certainly techniques and methods. Me, I always do things the hard way. I just do it repetitively. Repeat the lines again and again and again and again and again and again and again until you know you get it in. But I've known people who like to do things by numbers or by colour coding or connecting a letter with a colour or something, you know, some very funky ways to do things, and you know, it works for them. I've also known people write lines down on post-it notes, you know, sticky notes, and post it around. Maybe put it on the back of your bathroom door whilst you're having a number two. So you're going through the script and careful and stuff like that, you know. So there's all sorts of different ways. It's just about finding what works for you.
Yeah. What if you don't have much of a brief? What can you do to develop the character?
If you don't have a brief as such, well, make up your own brief. In a way, you can create a bit of a backstory in your own mind. You don't have to like go to the director and be like, oh yes, I've got this and I feel this and that, and I'm connected with, you know, they're not going to be interested in that. But for your own peace of mind, so you can develop that truthful performance, you can create a little bit of history for the character yourself. You don't need to go crazy in depth, you know, like what's their favourite meal, what cake did they have on the 5th birthday, and all that kind of stuff, you know. But at least enough of a backstory and to develop a truthful kind of performance, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you have to be word perfect?
What's that? No, I don't think you have to be necessarily word perfect. I try to be on word as much as I can. But I think at the stage of a self-tape, it's not 100% necessary if it's just like a little word slip here or there. You forget to carry a word or whatever, you know. Don't go making up like whole new lines or adding lots of words and stuff like that. But the odd little slip of a word or missing a word isn't going to matter. What's more important is like the intention, you know, like the meaning, the weight on the words you're saying, what's going on. Does the mood of that piece still translate over onto camera? That's what's more important.
Do you get more in-person auditions or self-tape auditions?
Well, actually, since the past 2 years nearly, I've been on Spotlight, maybe a touch more. And as I said previously, I've been with Amanda and Rachel for you know, like a good 3.5 years now. Nearly 4 even, I think. And in all that time, I've had one in-person audition. And that was actually a casting director, and I forgot her name, that's bad. But she actually came to the Midland Screen Acting School, and we all auditioned for different roles and stuff like that. The rest of my auditions have all been self-taped, you know, at home, looking through from things on Spotlight or whatever. And yeah.
Do you think there's a particular reason why?
Why it's like predominantly self-taped?
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the reasons that really kicked it all off was COVID. You know, with everyone having to be isolated and at home, things ended up moving to self-tape kind of format, you know, at home and sending it in. And whilst it's returned to some degree, for the vast majority of like castings where there's loads of people sending in their audition tapes, it's mostly stayed online with self-tapes because casting directors can see loads more. Like they can see potentially hundreds more. If they're in the room per se, you know, they've got to find a venue, perhaps even have to hire it out. You know, everyone has to worry about travel costs and stuff like that, you know, and transport, how they're going to get there. But it makes it much easier all around. Now, the only, I say, concern, worry, maybe downfall to that is casting directors don't have the time necessarily to sit and watch 1 to 2 minutes of every single person when there's hundreds and hundreds of people sending tapes. So I would presume, and any casting directors out there, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I would presume for the most part they're looking for a look straight off the bat. So they will be scanning through, oh, you match the brief, so do you, yeah, you, and then they'll create a shorter list of people, of like the idea of what the character they're looking for, you know, and then they will sit and watch some of those. Other than that, they might just click and hold on the drag bar, you know, on the timer bar on the bottom of the video, and just like scan through the video. I've heard a couple say they do that. You know, which is a bit unfortunate in some ways, because, you know, as an actor, you put all this time and effort into creating a character, and you know, you always end up putting you all into a role that you're doing. But you have to come to terms and understand the fact that casting directors simply are time limited. I mean, they can't watch 2 minutes of every single person, so they have to find other ways.
Do you have any other points, tips or advice?
For self-tapes and stuff and such?
Yeah.
Just really when it comes to emails, I'm going to talk about emails in another upcoming video about how to like align your social medias and email casting directors and such, but I'll just touch upon it now for like self-tapes. When you're doing a self-tape, you could use a platform like WeTransfer.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I've used that for my GCSE actually at one point.
Oh, there you go. So it allows you to use up to 1 gigabyte, I think, of transfer data on a basic plan at least. And you can have you can either have them send the email, or you can just get a copy of the link and put that in your email. And that will last like 1 or 3 days. Anything above that, you have to pay for like a plan. Yeah. And then you can have more data and stuff. But then you'd put that in your email. Probably most likely, again, in the subject line, your name and character role that you're going for. And then fill out your email with the link and stuff, and good luck. But once it's gone, I don't know how dark that's going to go, probably lose a bit of light there. But, excuse me. But yeah, once the email is done and gone, you've just got to move on and kind of forget about it. You know, it's done with. It's out of your hands, you can't control it. So you just move on to the next thing, and if you hear something back with a recall or whatever, great. And maybe one important note to remember is you're never going to know how close you was, even if you don't hear anything back. You know, you could have well been considered for a shorter list. Maybe you got down to the last few, and it came down to, you know, some decisions or whatever. But you never know how close you might have got. So if you don't hear anything, don't let it like dishearten you too much. Just chin up and move on to the next thing. So
that's all my questions.
That's everything from you. Oh, actually I did have other points, didn't I? I said about the motivations, but don't become, try not to allow yourself to become too rigid in like what you rehearse in your self-tape, the idea of a character or whatever. You know, develop it to a degree, but also be prepared to like let go of it. If a casting director maybe comes back to you and says, oh, that was great, but can you try, you know, another angle here, or a slightly different take of emotion or something like that. Now this is a win, because, you know, they're not saying you haven't done a good enough job and can you just try this. You know, they've come back to you, they're asking you to do something else, so they already like the look of you, they're already kind of considering you for potentially the role. What they're looking for here is maybe something more in line with what they're looking for their idea of character, but also to see how well you can take direction and see how well you can adjust and change to the, you know, the situation going on. So yeah, don't become too rigid, be open and be free to, you know, kind of mold into other avenues, so to say. So yeah, I guess I'll bring this video to an end there. So thanks again for spending some of your time with us here today. I always appreciate it. If you've got any suggestions, questions or anything like that, you know what to do. Comments below, thumbs up and all that good jazz. And yeah, we'll see you again soon. Take care.
Bye bye.